A sudden twist of your neck, a quick bend to pick something up, or even a brisk walk on a warm day, these seemingly harmless movements could be silently raising your risk of a stroke with no pain and no warning. You could go to bed feeling completely fine and wake up unable to speak, move your arm, or even recognize your own family. As a brain doctor, I've spent over 30 years treating stroke victims. And the cases that haunt me most aren't caused by smoking or bad diets. They come from something far more unexpected: common exercises. The very stretches, routines, and senior-safe workouts you've been told will help you age gracefully can, when done at the wrong time or in the wrong way, overload your blood vessels, spike your blood pressure, and form clots that strike your brain in the dead of night. Today, I'm going to walk you through 9 common exercises that might be putting your brain at risk, even if you feel strong and believe you're doing everything right. Because at this stage of life, what used to be healthy might now be dangerous. Stick with me. This could be the most important health message you hear all year. It might even save your life. The hidden danger in your routine. A doctor's urgent warning to senior SIF. You're over 60. There's one everyday movement that might seem healthy, even harmless, but it could quietly raise your risk of a stroke overnight. No pain, no warning, no second chance. You could go to bed feeling fine and wake up unable to speak, move your arm, or recognize your own family. As a brain doctor, I've spent over 30 years treating stroke victims, but the cases that haunt me most aren't caused by smoking or bad diets. They come from something much more unexpected: common exercises. The very stretches, routines, and senior-safe workouts you've been told will help you age gracefully. Some of them, when done at the wrong time or in the wrong way, can overload your blood vessels, spike your blood pressure, and form clots that strike your brain in the dead of night. Today, I'm going to walk you through 9 common exercises that might be putting your brain at risk, even if you feel strong and believe you're doing everything right. Because at this stage of life, what used to be healthy might now be dangerous. Stick with me. This could be the most important health message you hear all year. It might even save your life. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. 1. Toe touches and forward bends. The silent drop in blood pressure seems harmless, even healthy. Bending forward to stretch your back or legs, touching your toes before bed, or picking up a laundry basket from the floor. For decades, you've done this motion without a second thought. But what if I told you that this one simple, everyday movement, when done at the wrong time and the wrong body, could quietly tip your brain toward a stroke? As a brain doctor who has spent years treating older adults, I've seen it more times than I care to count. A slow, unnoticed change in blood pressure, when bending forward, becomes the silent trigger for a dangerous chain reaction in the brain. For younger adults, the body adapts easily to shifts in posture. But past 60, the sensors in your arteries that control blood flow to the brain, called baroreceptors, lose their sensitivity. That means when you bend over quickly, blood rushes away from your brain and your body doesn't react in time to bring it back. You may feel a little lightheaded. You may feel nothing at all, but inside, something much more serious may be happening. When blood flow drops suddenly and frequently, like when you're doing repeated forward bends or toe touches, the brain becomes starved for oxygen. This drop doesn't always cause a blackout, but it sets up the conditions for something worse: thickened blood, slowed circulation, and in some cases, the formation of blood clots. When one of those tiny clots finds its way into a narrowed artery deep inside your brain, the results can be devastating. I want to tell you about a patient I will never forget: Mr. Edward Millstone, age 74, a retired history teacher. Edward was active and alert, proud of stretching every morning. Each day after getting out of bed, he would stand up, reach down, and touch his toes 5 or 6 times, something he'd done since he was a boy. One morning, after his usual stretch, he felt a little dizzy, but shook it off. A few hours later, while gardening, he collapsed. He was conscious, but couldn't move his right arm or leg. The CT scan showed a small ischemic stroke. A clot had blocked blood flow to the motor area of his brain. We traced it back to those toe touches. His aging vascular system couldn't keep up with the postural shift. His blood got sluggish, and a clot formed quietly without warning. Edward eventually regained his ability to walk, but his right hand never fully recovered. He told me later, "I thought stretching was saving me, but it nearly ended me." This is the truth so many seniors never hear. A bend that felt good at 40 may be dangerous at 70. If you must bend down, always rise slowly. And if you ever feel dizzy, stop immediately. That is your brain whispering a warning point too. Inverted yoga poses, brain pressure, imbalance for many older adults. Yoga has become a symbol of graceful aging. But there's one category of poses that could quietly put your brain at serious risk. Inverted poses like legs up the wall or downward dog. These movements, while often marketed as relaxing, can cause a rapid and dangerous shift in blood flow toward the brain. When that surge of pressure hits aging blood vessels, it can cause those vessels to swell, rupture, or spasm. You see, as we get older, the brain's built-in pressure valve doesn't work as efficiently. Even just tilting the head downward can allow blood to pool, pressure to spike, and oxygen flow to become unstable. I want to share a patient story that still haunts me to this day. Her name was Mrs. Evelyn Thomas, 74 years old, a retired art teacher. She loved her gentle yoga class. But one morning during a pose where participants lifted their legs against the wall, Evelyn suddenly felt a sharp pain behind her eyes. That night, her daughter found her collapsed, confused, and unable to speak. Scans revealed a small hemorrhagic stroke in her brain. Her blood pressure medications combined with the inverted pose had created the perfect conditions. Evelyn survived, but her vision is permanently blurred, and she struggles to find words during conversations. The tragedy is, it was preventable. No one had ever warned her that these poses might not be safe for someone with her medical history. So, what can you do? Avoid any pose that puts your head significantly below your heart. Skip the inversions altogether. There are safer alternatives. If you ever feel lightheaded or a pulsing behind your eyes after yoga, listen to your body. It's not being dramatic. It's giving you a warning. Point 3. Heavy lifting. Even grocery bags there's something noble about staying strong in your golden years. But what most older adults don't realize is that even small acts of lifting, especially if you hold your breath or strain, can send your blood pressure skyrocketing in seconds, creating the perfect storm inside your body for a stroke. I've seen strokes triggered by nothing more than moving a garden hose or lifting a heavy purse. It's not the weight itself that's the problem. It's the sudden internal pressure you create when you strain. For an aging body where arteries may already be narrowed, this surge can be deadly. The vessel walls may crack, or a hidden clot may break loose, travel upstream, and block oxygen to your brain. Let me tell you about Mr. George Pickett, age 82, a retired firefighter. He was fiercely independent and always insisted on helping his wife unload the car. One afternoon, he lifted a heavy box of canned goods. He paused mid-lift, clutched his head, and collapsed. When he arrived at the ER, he couldn't move the right side of his body or speak clearly. His scan showed an ischemic stroke. His blood pressure had spiked suddenly, and that pressure dislodged plaque that had built up silently over the years. This is the quiet danger no one warns you about. If you don't have the same margin for error you once did, Every breath, every lift, every ounce of pressure matters now more than ever. Lift smaller loads. Ask for help. You don't lose independence by being cautious. You protect it. 4. Sudden standing exercises, from sit to stand too fast, one of the simplest movements we make every day, standing up from a chair. But what no one tells you is this: standing up too quickly, especially without support, can quietly trigger the very stroke you're trying to avoid. Why? Because the moment you stand, gravity pulls blood away from your head. For a younger person, the body reacts quickly to push blood back up to the brain. But after age 60, this automatic response becomes slower and weaker. When you rise suddenly, your brain may not get enough blood fast enough. The result is a dangerous moment of low oxygen. And if your vessels are already narrowed, it can form blood clots that can lodge in fragile cerebral arteries. One of my patients, Mrs. Carol Jensen, 79, a retired school principal, was determined to stay healthy. She had taken the advice of her physical therapist to practice repeated sit-to-stand drills. One morning after a quick session, she stood up fast, reached for the counter, and then paused. "I feel strange," she told her husband. Within seconds, her right side had gone weak and she struggled to speak. Her scan showed she had suffered a stroke. She had no idea that something as simple as standing up too fast had triggered the most frightening moment of her life. The body you had at 40 is not the body you have now. Hey, and that's not a failure. That's nature. But pretending it's still the same, that's the risk. So, here's what I want you to remember. Never rise without support. Pause for a moment when you stand. Take a breath. Let your brain catch up before you move. Because in this chapter of life, speed can be the enemy. 5. Walking in heat or humidity. Dehydration and blood thickening. There's something deeply comforting about a walk. But like so many things in later life, context changes everything. One of the most dangerous mistakes I see my older patients make is this: walking in hot, humid conditions without proper hydration. As we age, our body's thirst response dulls. We don't feel thirsty until we're already dehydrated. So, here's what happens. You take a walk, you sweat, even lightly, and you don't replace that fluid. Your blood volume shrinks, your circulation slows, and what was once thin, flowing blood becomes thicker and more concentrated. Your blood becomes sticky, your vessels tense, and it forms blood clots in the very arteries that feed your brain. I want to tell you about a man I treated not long ago, Mr. Harold Dunn, an 84-year-old retired postal worker. Harold was disciplined about his health and took a long walk every day after lunch. But in July, the humidity climbed and the temperatures lingered in the 90s. One morning, after a particularly hot walk the day before, Harold woke up confused. He tried to stand and immediately collapsed. The scans confirmed he'd suffered a stroke. His blood work showed elevated hemoglobin concentration. His blood had thickened. He thought walking made him stronger, but in truth, that walk in the heat had set the conditions for disaster. Harold survived, but he no longer walks without assistance. He still asks me why no one told him that walking could be dangerous if done at the wrong time. So please, if you're going out to walk, especially in summer, drink water before and after top 6. Neck circles or jerky. Neck rotations, artery tear risk, one of the most common stretches seniors are told to do. You tilt your head side to side. Maybe even make a gentle circle with your chin. It feels harmless. But what no one ever warned you is that this one seemingly innocent movement can cause a tear inside the vertebral artery. And for someone over 60, that tear may be all it takes to trigger a life-altering stroke. The vertebral arteries aren't designed to stretch or twist too far. Yet, every time you roll your neck in a full circle, you're pulling on those vessels. Like taffy, over time, or sometimes with just one wrong movement, That stretch can cause a small tear. Your body, trying to repair the damage, immediately responds by forming a clot. If that clot dislodges, it can travel upward directly into the brainstem. I remember one case vividly. Mr. Dennis Leal, 72, a retired school band director. He'd read that neck rolls were good for posture, so each morning he'd slowly rotate his neck. One morning, midway through the second circle, he felt a sharp pain behind his ear. Then came dizziness. Moments later, he collapsed. Scans confirmed a dissection of the left vertebral artery and an acute stroke. Today, Dennis uses a wheelchair. He had no idea that a movement so gentle could change his life forever. So, here's what I need every senior to understand. Stop doing full neck circles. Avoid fast or jerky turns. Protect your neck like your life depends on it, because it does. 7. High-intensity interval training, HIIT. Vascular overload. There's a new trend sweeping through senior fitness centers. High-intensity interval training, or HIIT. It's marketed as a time-saving miracle. But for older adults, especially those over 60, HIIT can quietly push your cardiovascular system beyond its limit, putting you at real risk for stroke. During each intensity burst, your heart rate spikes, your blood pressure surges, and your vascular system is forced to expand and contract rapidly. In younger bodies, this can be tolerated. But in older adults, that sudden pressure can stress the delicate endothelial lining inside your blood vessels. When this layer is overstretched, tiny cracks can form. Plaque can rupture. And what I fear most for my patients is that it forms blood clots. I'll never forget Mr. Donald Whitaker, age 74, a retired steelworker. His daughter bought him an exercise DVD with energizing height moves. He began each morning with short rounds of fast-paced moves. It felt manageable until one morning it wasn't. After a 20-minute session, he became dizzy, dropped his cup, and slumped against the counter. A CT scan revealed a stroke. His blood vessels, weakened by age, simply couldn't adapt fast enough to the strain. Donald survived, but not without consequences. He now lives in an assisted living facility. He once told me, "I thought I was doing what was right. I was just trying to stay young." Choose gentler forms of movement. In this chapter of life, stability is power, and sudden intensity is not your friend. Point 8. Stretching before warming up. Vessel shock. We've been told all our lives that stretching is good for us. But for older bodies, stretching before warming up can cause more harm than good. In some cases, it can quietly trigger the first steps toward a stroke. When your muscles are cold, your blood vessels are more constricted, suddenly pulling on. These muscles, through static stretching, forces your arteries to expand before they're ready. In aging bodies, that sudden demand can shock the vascular system. When blood flow becomes inconsistent or turbulent, it forms blood clots, especially near weakened vessel linings. And when those clots travel, the brain is often the first place they go. I treated a woman named Mrs. Eileen Granger, a 78-year-old retired piano teacher. One morning, before her usual neighborhood stroll, she followed a stretching video. She held a long forward bend, then followed it with quad stretches. She hadn't walked around yet, or even drunk water. "I thought I was being good," she later told me, but halfway through her walk, she felt lightheaded. She was rushed to the ER, where scans revealed a small ischemic stroke. We concluded that the static stretching had caused a vascular mismatch that allowed a small clot to form. Her stroke didn't come from bad habits. It came from a well-meaning routine done in the wrong order. Never begin your day or your workout with static stretching. Warm up first. Walk around for 5 to 10 minutes. Stretching is still good, but it must come after your body is ready, not before. 9. Balancing exercises without support. The fall stroke loop of all the exercises seniors are encouraged to do. Balance training often seems the safest. But what most older adults don't realize is that doing balancing exercises without proper support can quietly lead to a chain reaction that ends in a stroke unit. When an older adult falls, especially if they hit their head, the body experiences trauma. In response, it releases stress hormones and inflammatory markers. The risk of internal clot formation skyrockets. Even if no bone is broken, the body may begin forming blood clots. And if one of those clots travels, it can find its way to the brain. That's what we call the fall-stroke loop. A fall leads to clotting, and the clot leads to a stroke. I'll never forget one patient, Mr. Walter Harris, an 81-year-old retired Navy veteran. He lived alone and took pride in keeping active. He had watched a balance training video that encouraged standing on one leg for 30 seconds. He tried it one morning without support. His foot slipped on the rug. He fell sideways, striking his head lightly. "I wasn't even that hurt," he later told me. "Just embarrassed." But that night, Walter woke up confused. We found a clot in his left middle cerebral artery. The stroke affected his speech, memory, and ability to use his dominant hand. He told me he'd give anything to go back and do that. Same balance exercise, just while holding onto a chair. Balance training is essential for seniors, but it must be done safely. Always do it near a stable surface. The goal is strength and stability, not risk and regret. Because it's not just a fall you need to fear. It's what the fall triggers inside your body that you may never see coming. Final reflection: the truth about movement, aging, and protecting your brain. You've made it this far. I want to say something from the heart. You care. You care enough about your health and your future to sit with uncomfortable truths. And that takes strength. We've walked through 9 everyday exercises, and we've seen how each, under the wrong conditions, can become dangerous. The truth is this: aging changes everything. What used to be harmless in your 40s can, at 70 or 80, quietly set the stage for a stroke. I've seen this too often. Patients who are active and well-meaning walk into my office one week and can't speak the next. So now the question becomes, these exercises are risky. What can I safely do? How do I move in a way that protects my brain? Let's start with the first and most important principle. Movement is not the enemy. Uninformed movement is. You don't need to stop exercising. You need to exercise differently with intention, awareness, and respect for the reality of your body today. What safe movement looks like after 60 warm-up first. Always. Never begin a workout or even a morning stretch without warming up. Use support when needed and don't apologize for it. Balance exercises should always be done near a wall or chair. Holding on isn't weakness. It's wisdom. Favor steady, rhythmic movement over intensity. Your brain thrives on consistency, not shock. Hydrate, not just after, but before. Dehydration thickens your blood and stresses your brain's blood vessels. Combine movement with breath. Holding your breath while lifting or straining increases internal pressure. Stretch after activity, not before. Static stretching is safest when your body is warm. Listen to the subtle warnings. Dizziness, fogginess, or sudden fatigue are not just aging. They're whispers from your brain. Move in the morning, not late at night. Late-day exertion can lead to delayed blood pressure crashes. Personalize your routine with your doctor. What works for one senior may be dangerous for another. Always review your exercise plan with your physician. You still hold the pen. This chapter of life isn't about limitation. It's about precision. You've earned the right to live your final chapters on your own terms. But that means guarding your brain like the treasure it is. The right movements, chosen wisely and performed safely, can give you more years of clarity, mobility, and freedom. Your brain is still listening, and it's counting on you to move with care. What change are you ready to make today to protect your health? Let's walk this wiser path together. Your brain deserves it. You deserve it.